My name is Ian Hamilton, managing editor of UploadVR.com, and I'm joined today by a panel of VR experts for a discussion about the realities of remote work. The effects of COVID-19 are rippling worldwide, and that includes the closure of VRcades pretty much everywhere.
Hmm.
Oculus Quest stock returned for about, I don't know, was it maybe 6 hours this week before they sold out again? And we're hearing that some developers are reporting a bump in sales as people head into social isolation. We reported this week, for example, that 11 Table Tennis sold 12,000 copies on Oculus Quest, just on Oculus Quest. And that's in 2 weeks, they sold that many. That's equivalent to nearly half the lifetime sales on Rift over 3 years.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
it's a good percentage of their lifetime sales on Steam. They had like more
Nice.
than 50,000 sales on Steam
Good for them.
over, I think, 4 years. And of course, this week, Friday, people will be able to preload Half-Life Alyx for playing on March 23rd. And that's the week's VR news. The only other news that I really could think of to talk about this week was remote work and the realities of it. Let us know in the comments if you're working from home, how that's working out for you. We've got a panel of people here from who are experts in VR, pioneers, and basically I want to hear how your workplaces are going. Let's start off with you, Timony. Tell us where you
Sure.
work and what's happened at your work the last couple weeks.
Sure. Yeah. So I work at Unity. Unity has at least 17 offices around the world. We have some major offices in San Francisco, Copenhagen, Montreal, Seattle, Shanghai, Beijing, Tokyo, Seoul, and then like increasingly smaller offices as you go. Well, actually, Lithuania is pretty big too. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Anyway, ton of offices, and we've actually come up with a system around how the offices are labeled. So there's code red, code orange, code yellow. Right now, everyone in America is in code red, which just means the offices are completely closed down. You can't go in. Code orange means that you can go in if you get manager approval, if you really need to. So, but most of Unity at this point is working from home, which is crazy. It's a little unprecedented. That being said, my team alone, for example, of 17 people is across 3 offices. And so people at Unity are really, really used to doing cross-office collaboration, cross-team meetings. And so I think we're better set up than many, many companies in that way. People are really used to traveling constantly to other offices and talking via Slack or having asynchronous communication. On my team specifically, actually, the biggest challenge is that I have a spatial design team, of course, and that's the only meeting that really usually needs to be in person because we sit around with builds on devices and actually look at stuff. We have to prototype. You can't just see 2D. You can't just see an animation. In order to actually give it the go, no go for design, you have to be in the room on the device and actually testing it out and making sure it feels good. So that's the biggest challenge, and we've been trying out different apps to see which ones we want to go for testing out stuff. You can do builds and have asynchronous, like, oh, I see what you're seeing, but it's so much better to be able to be in the same space at the same time. So yeah, so that's Unity.
Wow. And Sean, let's go to Sean
Yeah.
next.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm head of community at Rec Room. So Rec Room is entirely based in Seattle for full-time employees. We do have some of the community team that's kind of remote, like always remote. So their lives haven't changed at all. And then in terms of the Seattle team, we would have like work from home every now and then, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people from the office would be working from home for whatever reason for that day. So we had to go through a pretty big shift to get everyone, set up at home, get, synced with the project, make sure their PC and everything was in a good state. So that took us probably about a week to make that transition. And now we've gotten it rolling and there's momentum and it's working well. But the biggest thing I've noticed so far was just like, how long is that transition going to take for different, businesses or different groups? And luckily for us, it's we're doing the sort of work that can be done from home.
Mhm.
So we're fortunate in that way. And then we've also started to hold all of our daily like stand-ups. Like each team has a stand-up, so the community team is a stand-up, and we do that in Rec Room. Um, and
Nice.
it feels really good because you feel present with the people even though they're at home. It's a little more personable than just hopping on like an audio call or a video call or something like that. It's also a lot more fun because we end the stand up with like confetti cannons or like shooting pirate pistols in the air or something. So it's got more character. You feel like you had fun with your teammates. And then I can go into more detail later. We've been holding a bunch of meetings in Rec Room.
Yeah, and then we've got Guy over here. Let's remind everyone what you do.
So I'm the developer of Virtual Desktop. And since I'm a big team of one person, well, nothing changed. I'm still working from home. And no, I do have some contractors that also work from home. So nothing really changed. I don't really do meetings or stand-ups or anything like that. I just wake up in the morning, decide, oh, what do I want to work on today? And that's it. I stay
Are
in
you
my
seeing
PJs all day.
Are you seeing usage change based on the last few weeks, though? Are people using Virtual Desktop more?
Yeah, it's the curve has usually it's humps during the weekends, but now it's been staying pretty stable as if we're having like a week-long weekend so far. So
Oh yeah, there you go.
so the usage has been up, and the sales there was a little dip when there was a Quest shortage, right? And now it's gone back up. So the sales have been pretty stable. So um, yeah, I can't complain.
Interesting. Any comments, Tatiana?
I don't know if it's not working or if we don't have any. Because there's also like an arrow, like it wants me to scroll down, but I can't. It's Heaney. Heaney must scroll.
Yeah, Heaney out there is in control of scrolling. So let's have this conversation between us then. I want to understand what the limits are of remote work. I mean, your Unity is the builder of the tool that we use to build this space, and I'm curious. I mean, do you do avatar-based meetings often at Unity? Is that uncommon? And what are the limits of how much collaboration we can do using VR headsets? Because it's a common conversation that's happening right now that that VR is the future of this. But I know there's limitations, and I really want to break it down what those are for people. And so I'm curious what
Mhm.
Unity can say about that.
So no, right now we don't do a lot of meetings that include avatars or that are virtual. I want to, like I said, we're going to be testing that out more and more. There's a couple of limitations to this. First, hardware. I think my team might be the only team at Unity where every single person owns a headset, and honestly, the final person who didn't have one of our 3D artists, just got one last week. So he got a Quest, so now everyone on the team is covered, and we can actually have all in team meetings. Like I don't know many companies in the world where you're going to have the team where every single person has access to VR hardware. So that one first, right? Secondly, it depending on the nature of the meeting, you might need one of two things that are hard to do in VR. First is actual physical body language reading. Like if it's a meeting about something sensitive, or if the whole point is to make sure that everyone feels, connected, it's a sensitive topic, then avatars might not cut it, right? You don't feel as close. You probably just want a video feed instead. And the second is things like that involve coding or using a computer, like pair programming. Anything that involves a lot of typing right now. Again, virtual reality isn't the best for that. The thing is that virtual reality is the best for is I think sort of actually feeling connected. So like if you could do some sort of lunch or like team event, that to me is probably one of the best use cases right now, which is another thing that we'll be scheduling actually on my team. Just kind of group events in VR. We'll go into Rec Room or try out half and half and just play together and learn together. I think, and then I guess just for what we do, a lot of just testing and seeing what else is going on in the field. It's great to be in VR and actually be able to talk about it in that way. But yeah, there's upsides and there's downsides today. Our spatial for the Magic Leap is something we've been trying out on and off for a while. Uh, the the one thing I would really love, it doesn't necessarily, it's not limited to any one app. This is something I want across the board for any Unity app, is just interoperability. Like right now, I have a display in front of me, but that's not showing anything. I would love if it knows that it's me and it can just connect into my virtual desktop without anyone having to code in, or like just have generic, like this user just like mirror their desktop for them. So I think that's the big problem. We enter these apps and they don't interconnect with other apps seamlessly. And so it's
Mm,
easier to just be on your computer where everything is open already and accessible to you. This is just a problem in VR.
interesting. And I'm curious over with Rec Room because like you had that experiment this week where you did an AR version of
Ooh, you
Rec
did?
Room, and then
Yeah.
Rec Room is on every other platform. So I mean, what's the value of having sort of a single tool set that's accessible from every device? Are you seeing people do cross device connections a lot?
Oh yeah. I mean, um, there's a majority, like I would say almost every room in Rec Room has multiple devices connecting to it, right? There's like someone on their iPhone, someone on a Quest, someone on a PS4 screen mode, someone on a PSVR, someone on Steam screen mode, someone on a Steam VR device. Like there's so many devices connecting that you go into any given room and there's going to be multiple devices. Yeah, the AR experiment was just kind of a fun thing to say, like, hey, if I'm, having a meeting in this, this like boardroom type area, and then if my phone, like my iOS device or the depth sensor, can just scan this area and then import it into a rec room space and kind of show like simple planes, is what it looks like right now for like, here's the table, here's the floor, here's the walls. And then I can connect in there as anyone in Rec Room and just be like, hey, this is, your office. And then I can put something on the table. And then for everyone in that meeting, they can see it. They can draw something in the meeting and I can see it. So that was a cool little experiment.
Wait, just so you use the iOS device to scan the space and then you imported it in. So were you in VR at the end of the day, or could you actually see it like on your phone, in like with the pass-through camera?
So the person on the phone sees like so in the video we put out, Nick is in the Rec Room office on his phone, and he is like scanning the
Hmm.
boardroom table and the walls and all that. And then I'm in VR, so you see my avatar.
Okay,
And then for me in VR, I see Nick's avatar based on where his device is.
love
And
it.
then I see a bunch of simple planes,
Yep,
based
yep.
on what the room looks
The
like a
geometry.
simple scan. And we think we can get that like textured and looking a lot better at a certain point too. But this
Fantastic.
is just the first version. And then, yeah, we like laid out bowling pins and we, bowled together on the office table. Um, yeah, that's what that experiment looks like right now.
Awesome.
My
Was that
dog.
He's a
Yeah, that's my
fan.
dog. Sorry. Yeah. I noticed the animals get really nervous when I go into VR and talk to people that aren't there. I don't know if y'all have pets, but yeah, they
Yeah,
get very
same problem here.
antsy.
The cats go crazy. They're like, "Who are you talking to? What's wrong? Pet me."
um, so one of the things I want to break down here is what do you expect to change about these realities in the next 5 years? Because this is kind of an unprecedented time, I think, in history. I don't know if people always talk about remote work. It's always kind of like an optional thing. I wish I could remote work, and I loved your explanation of how the offices are different all over the world for Unity. Um, but like in 5 years, how much improvement do you think we're going to be able to see in terms of what's capable with these devices and with this software? Anybody have any thoughts?
Looks like he does.
I think the comfort of the headset has to improve a lot for remote work to be viable in VR or in AR. Right now, we put those on our head, and then it gets hot and it's uncomfortable for a long time. And I think once we have things that are more closer to what glasses are, I think we're going to see an exponential growth into remote work with VR. The software will get better, obviously, but I think the comfort is the biggest problem right now, in my opinion.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I
I was
I mean, we
having.
always want comfort, but like I guess I wonder, software-wise and internet connections. I mean, those. I sort of joked at the beginning of this, but I'm on an LTE connection. Is everyone? I assume everyone else is probably on cable.
Yeah,
Um,
cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in situations like this where everyone's working from home, you really need the infrastructure to be
Yeah.
solid for everyone everywhere. And I don't know if that gets fixed in 5 years.
I think,
It
I
depends on
mean,
the area of the world. Some
yeah.
regions have better internet connectivity than us in North America, or our internet sucks here. So it's unfortunate, but we're like 10 years behind.
Yeah.
So Um, I saw a tweet by Erica Joy the other day that made me think about how there's like some bosses or managers who might not feel comfortable with work from home and want their employees to be in the office because it doesn't feel like they're really working unless they're there. I get that. Specifically, we're talking about like knowledge worker jobs, not service jobs where you actually do have to be there. Um, but it occurred to me that a lot of managers maybe who aren't comfortable with the notion of working from home right now have a hard lesson to learn where they see people continue to work even though they're not around, and they're really going to have a mental shift. And I can't imagine that won't percolate over the next 5 years, and we'll see people, I think, more casually working from home as the infrastructure is built up, as we fill the gaps in, and as people get kind of used to this concept of working from home as sort of the ethically responsible thing to do. It's not just about the pandemic right now. People are talking about how clear the air is in San Francisco because we don't have people commuting by the thousands, and I'm sure in LA it's similarly much better for the environment now. So just thinking about how this mass transit that we force on employees every day that might not be necessary, if we're forced to stop doing it for a month, I think that's really going to have ramifications about how
Mm,
work looks like in 10 years.
mm. I know you got to get going in a few minutes, so I wanted to ask maybe one more question. What tips do you have for working from home? What do
Oh,
you have any suggestions for people out there?
sure. There's a couple of things we've done on my team. We have a weekly just Zoom lunch where we all just hang out. We also have we have a Slack channel that's just a water cooler channel just for talking about whatever that we made as a result of us all being work from home. I've set up one-on-ones with every single person on my team, even not my directs, just to kind of check in and make sure they're feeling comfortable. And then we have an ambient Zoom that you can join at any time. And the idea is that if you want to do a quick chat with someone, that's something like you would have normally in the office. Or if you just want to like see a friendly face, you can always just join in there. So those are some of the different things that we've just put into place over the last week. I like
Mhm.
working from home myself. If you don't like working from home, I encourage you to take a hard look at your space and see what's uncomfortable. Like put up some art, get a more comfortable chair, you know, make sure you're near sunshine, all that stuff. So
Yeah, I noticed that there's a lot of the discussion out there. It's people aren't necessarily in control of their space.
exactly.
Are
Yeah.
sort of the ones that are complaining about it the most, and I totally understand that when you kind of compound the fact that you're wanting to work from home with the fact that so many other parts of our lives are upended, having to go run for groceries or having the
Yep.
kids home from school. It's not the normal rhythm, and you lose control of your space and the ability to kind of do that focused working.
Absolutely.
Um, you know, I think that's one thing is I wanted to cover maybe with you before you head out, but like, what's different about non-mandated working from home from mandated working from home? Because you said you're in a red area now. Is it troublesome for some people to sort of make that shift? And what
Yes,
other
actually
than
more
like
more than
controlling
I
your space?
expected. And I've talked with on my team there's only a few that had a little bit of trouble, and but I see it on Twitter, people being really like anxious or nervous or upset or talking about having to deal with, almost depression like symptoms or anxiety. What I got from, I'm not sure about everyone, but what I got from at least the folks on my team is that they're more used to having a real separation between their work life and their home life. And this not and sometimes kids are involved as well, like, there's also that kind of in the soup, but if you I really respect, I tend to be more fluid, I'll check email anytime and whatever, I don't encourage it for everyone, it's just how I happen to work, but for those who really want a clear delineation for their mental health between their work and their home, well, now they're kind of fucked. They're gonna have to figure out, basically an entirely new system to kind of mentally have those delineations because they don't have it physically anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, she's right. I mean, the hardest thing for me when I started working full time is that since I work from home, it's really hard for me to say, okay, now I'm working or now I'm doing
Yes.
something else. It's just
Yep.
I'm just working all the time. Like I
Yeah.
wake up and then I'm on iPad and then checking emails and all that, and I have to remind myself, okay, no, just go eat breakfast first, and then you can check the emails and all that. It's
I think
really
that's really
hard to,
important.
yeah.
You like if you don't set the time aside specifically and like really set a schedule for yourself, like you really screw yourself over. I remember someone because I made a status on Facebook where I talked about like, if hey, you work from home, share something here and like give someone else another tip. And someone had like brought up a point that I didn't think about, like if you commute and you listen to like a podcast every morning, for example, sitting in traffic, like still set that time even working from home. And like let's just say it's like 45 minutes, set that 45 minutes early and actually still listen to that podcast, because you'll kind of keep with your schedule and
I love that.
everything.
Yeah.
I know you got to
All right.
get going, Timothy.
Yep, I
Thank you
gotta
so
go.
much.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.
It's nice
Nice to see
meeting you.
Thanks for joining
everybody.
us.
Yeah.
See you
hang
later.
out.
Bye.
We switched.
Oh yeah, there you go. Nice over here. Is there anxiety up there right now, and how are you handling it?
Yeah, I think the anxiety is, it affects everyone a little differently. Some people are more anxious about it than others. It kind of, it started kind of gradually. It's like, hey, this is a thing. There are cases in Washington, and then it started to be announced that the schools are closing, and that's when it really starts to hit, right? Because it's like anyone who's got kids is like, well, I'm probably going to be working from home now because somebody's got to stay home with the kids. So for us, it was a gradual transition to, hey, if you want to work from home, you can go ahead and, grab whatever you need to be productive at home. To it changed to like, hey, like the governor might shut down buildings of a certain size, like our building might shut down the office, like so grab whatever you need to work from home and make sure you have it. So the kind of warnings coming out, to the team got stronger and stronger until it's like you have to be ready to work from home because that's just like the situation we live in now.
Yeah, Devin Bradley in the comments said they'd argue that cross-platform with mobile and desktop is so important for VR collaboration to catch on with mainstream, which I totally agree.
Yep, that's a good idea to do. I know, like, not sure. I'm not familiar enough with Rec Room, but I know VR Chat has like a desktop version and a VR version of the app, right? So both can, and on different platforms too, so they can all mix together and do the same
Rec
thing.
Room has a mobile version, doesn't it? Or am
Yeah.
I remembering that wrong?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
I am remembering that right.
We're on
Yeah.
iOS right now, so iPhone or iPad. And then if you want to play, we actually have a large amount of people connecting from PlayStations without a headset. So you're just playing it on your DualShock controller. And then you can also play desktop mode on Steam. You just connect through and it plays like any other, flat Steam game. And we've actually seen our numbers going way up since, everyone's staying at home, right? And all the kids are off school. So it's like we have a large amount of younger players. So I think we saw some of our best days of all time in the last, like, Monday, Tuesday, this weekend. It's just,
Wow.
everyone wants to hang out with their friends, right? And it's like, well, you can't go over to their house anymore. You can't meet up and, you can't see them at school. So it's like, where do we go? And it's like, well, I play Rec Room. I'll invite you guys all in here and I'll show you like some stuff I created and we can create
Yeah.
stuff together. So it's kind of like perfectly suited to help people at this time, which we've been
Yeah.
telling everyone on the team. It's like, hey, if we can keep doing our job, keep the servers up, let's try to keep this going for everyone because it's more important now than it's ever been.
Yeah, that's fantastic because I was my kids are home and my oldest basically did a FaceTime chat last night with a friend from the school, and they tried to film a movie more or less, like scene by scene, one iPhone to another iPhone, and they're like filming phones with phones to try to make this whole thing work, and it's just the most like life will find a way type
Yeah.
situation for connecting over space, and it's um, amazing to have a platform like Rec Room and VR Chat and big screen. All those people out there watching us in big screen, thank you so much. And do we have more comments? Are the comments working
Yes.
now?
So yeah, I had to do something to go around it. But Warren Blythe asked if we talked about Mozilla Hubs, which we haven't. He said that we're discussing this for my work mix of VR and web browser. I've personally never used Mozilla Hubs before.
I tried it early on. I need to get into a recent version of that, and that's the web-based social connection service. So you could do something similar to what we're doing here with just a web browser link, and then share that web browser link to other people. And
Yeah.
I know it's gaining popularity, and a lot of people are loving that. And Quest has very good web XR support, so we need to get in there and test it more. Yeah, I'm curious, Guy. Can you tell how many people are connecting for work or for personal use? Is it like, is there any breakdown on your side to be able to tell that?
I don't collect telemetry because I hate when companies do that. So it's not something I do. So I don't know anything
Power.
about
Yes, fantastic.
what people do. But
Yeah.
from what I gather, a lot of people these past few weeks have been using virtual desktop to connect to their work computer and do some work in VR and use their computer and do things. So I'm sure it's used. I just don't know how many. But yeah, I mean, there are probably easier ways also if you want to do actual work. Typing on a virtual keyboard is not easy or convenient. So probably a lot of people use other apps to do this. But I think we're getting there with better resolution in the headsets, better comfort. I think it's going to be something you can do like when you're sitting at home on your couch and you can just go on your computer and do whatever you need to do. So
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about that situation where I don't know how many people are out there that just sort of like they have a Quest and they bought it as separate reasons. Like they got a Quest to play games, and then they've got a computer at work that they can't access anymore. And I wonder how many of them are waking up and realizing, oh goodness, I can actually install virtual desktop on that machine and get my files that way. In my VR headset at home. Like it's such a natural use, but I wonder if there's like a lot of people aren't aware or really realize that they can do that. And hopefully, if you didn't realize you could do that and you're watching us, you realize that's one of the the great uses for virtual desktop. I can imagine there's some VR people out there that have PC VR at work and only a Quest at home, and virtual desktop would allow you to access your Alex
your
on
files.
Monday. Half-Life Alex you could play at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The next week is going to be all about people trying to play Half-Life Alex wirelessly. So it's going to be lots of support.
Yeah.
Sean, I think it was Kyle that asked, are the servers really stressed right now with Rec Room?
Yeah, it's the stress points normally happen like as the increase happens. So if the increase is slow, it's not so bad because like the servers will just spin up more instances. Like we'll pull more support from like AWS or Azure or whatever we're using. So as long as it's not like a dramatic spike, which will sometimes happen like when we push a new update, like we just updated with a new paintball map recently, and you can kind of account for that because the update's going out. So I don't think there's really been many server issues since it was kind of a gradual. More people are getting off work, more people are staying home, so it's been pretty smooth so far, I believe.
What's the most amount of users that it can hold in one space? Because people in the chat are talking about alt space being able to hold 70.
Yeah, I think we cap most rooms at 40, although we on the dev side have like an override, so I think we've set some of our rooms to like 50 or 60. So we had our entire team meeting, like the entire company. I guess that was Monday, and we were experimenting with a new desktop streaming feature so that we could do our like slides that we normally do and like when we're in the office. So yeah, I think we had around 40, maybe a little over 40 people there. And it was really cool because normally in Rec Room you don't think of being able to have your desktop in there. So it was interesting to see like a proper presentation, and it worked pretty well. So we put out some like photos of it on Twitter, and we were like, "Hey, are people interested in this?" It's still an experimental feature, but we're thinking like it's especially relevant now for all the work from home people, right? It's like if you could do a presentation and like the desktop streaming is really one of the things you need for productivity. Like when I was trying to set up some of the programs like Git and stuff at home, I had to hop on a Slack video call and then somebody had to screen share, or I had to screen share to them, and they're like, oh, type this in the command line and whatever. So that screen sharing is like really essential for work from home stuff, I'd say.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was going to say also real quick, unrelated, but CB said that the new paintball map in Rec Room is golden.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's great. It's like based on a like 50s, 60s era drive-in. It's called the Sunset Drive-In. It's a really cool map.
Ooh, we need to get in there. That sounds like fun. Um, yeah, I'm so it's amazing to me to hear you talk about like desktop streaming while we've got like the utility of desktop streaming over here
Hmm.
and how hard it is. I mean, Timony earlier was saying how she wished it was a built-in feature to the apps and just sort of a thing that can happen. What are the roadblocks there to making desktop a more ubiquitous feature in all VR apps?
Well, the issue with current VR platform is that you can only have one VR app running at a given time. Steam VR has the ability to have overlays that are from different apps. Oculus doesn't have that ability. They all do it themselves, and they only allow one app running at a time. So that's the hard part, is that if you want to develop like a multi-process thing, it's impossible right now. Only one app can render in VR. So
Mm,
the app has to do it all, has to do the multiplayer, has to do the streaming. So it's really hard to kind of have multiple teams working on that together, unfortunately. And it's because the VR industry kind of adopted the app approach that phones have. So it's a bit unfortunate, but it's also hard, I guess, for them to kind of uh, separate the available resources to different apps, right? So if one app just hugs the CPU, then the other one's not going to perform well. So it there's a lot of considerations that went into that decision of only having one app at a time, but it's unfortunate.
Alex VR actually said, Guy, that he was just praising Virtual Desktop on his podcast. Amazing software. Keep up the good work, dude.
Well, thank you.
yeah, people out there are super impressed. I mean, we're in big screen is out there and they're showing video, movies to people. Rec Room is an incredible service. We've got Unity that's at the front of everything. We're going to have Denny join us, but he might still pop in. I might not, but it's amazing to me, like the amount of power a PC gives you,
Mhm.
but the amount of hiccups and problems it gives you hand in hand. Like,
Yeah,
I want to be able to do everything I can with my PC, but the software updates, the background processes, the things that are going on that I'm not in control of are always there.
yeah,
And it happened with us today. If I just had a Quest and separating out those processes, and that's one of those beautiful things about what virtual desktop does today is I've got a PC for my PC things, and then I've got a Quest and I can run virtual desktop, and it's like the best of both worlds. Um,
yeah. It's a tough thing to do. However, I have to say the most of the support I do is PC related. It's not Quest related. Like if I have a bug or a crash on Quest, well, it's very easy to isolate and reproduce because we all have the same headset. Whereas on PC, it's always, oh, what GPU do you have? Oh, do you have this Windows update? Or do you have this
Yeah.
other software installed that might mess things up? So it's a much harder platform to develop on than the Quest. It's fun to develop on the Quest because everyone has the same hardware. Much easier. It's probably the same for you, I guess, with Rec Room.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about what GPU they have, if they have enough RAM or.
Yeah, it's especially when you're dealing with bug reports, you always have to do way more follow-up with the PC users because it's like, hey, I'm on an iPhone 7, and it's like, cool, you pretty much know exactly what that iPhone 7 looks like. But if it's like, I'm on a PC, it's like, oh God, all right, what NVIDIA driver version do you have an NVIDIA card? Is it a ATI card? Is it what's your CPU? What's your Windows update? There's just way more variables.
mm,
Sorry, it has finally happened. This is why I'm moving my hands. The cat is all over me.
yeah.
My gaming is legal said that virtual desktop is a lifesaver. They're currently ill in bed waiting for surgery, and virtual desktop is currently the only way for them to access their PC.
That's
It's
awesome.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
good to hear.
Yeah. Do we have any questions from the community out there?
I know Kyle actually asked if there were any social experiences that work better with virtual desktop.
I haven't tested any myself, but I've heard people use VR chat a lot because they want to see those PC worlds on the Quest where they don't have access to them. or they want to go in a room where the Quest version isn't allowed to go in.
That makes
Those
sense.
types of things. So
Your cat, I wish my cat was here now, because it's so soothing to even know that you've got a cat there that you're relaxing
I'm
with.
surprised that you can't hear her because she's very loud when she purrs.
Yeah, my cat's here too. It just jumped up on my lap.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
My cat actually took out the internet, so I locked her in the other room, and I feel terrible about it. And look at the cat. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a little, like a Furby. Sounds fantastic.
Do you hear her?
Yeah. Well, I covered the main questions really fast there with Timony, that, because I knew she had to go, but I know it's a tough time for a lot of people out there, and we wanted to make sure that we know everyone is sort of changing their lifestyles during this time. And I know VR is seen as like the catch-all, but I mean, there's a lot of hoops to run through to get into VR, and it's just so nice that Rec Room is on every device, and you don't have to go into the headset, but if you do, you get certain features. And then virtual desktop it lets you have that best of both worlds, where you don't have to lug around a PC, and you can access various virtual worlds with a headset and then use your PC when you need to. And yeah, I covered most of my questions. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? If there's any more comments, I think we're gonna.
Adam Hartzell actually asked if anyone got into the Oculus Horizons Alpha. I know I didn't.
I'm not going to sign that NDA, so
Aren't
you're not allowed.
I'm not in it.
Yeah.
But aren't all the OC6 people supposed to get access at a certain point? Didn't they say that?
Are we?
Supposedly,
so.
yeah. Oh yeah, beta. So
I
they're
think
in
yeah,
alpha
it's the
stage.
beta.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a long process there. I mean, that's one of the things I suppose we should
Polly.
talk about before we close out. But that's what are the tools in Rec Room right now, and how many complex worlds are you seeing being built? What's the most impressive single thing you've seen made inside VR in Rec Room?
Yeah. So we looked at the rate of new room creation, and it's actually gone up a lot over the last week or two. We're not really sure what's causing that, but it seems like people are getting more familiar with the tools or creating more rooms. So we see on the order of thousands of new rooms created every day. I think we're at, it's like 1.5 million rooms at this point that players have created, something along those lines. So yeah, there's a lot of rooms. I mean, a lot of the effort is in making the tools easier and more accessible, and then bringing those tools over to the screen platforms, like PC screens, PS4, or like the touch based phone screens. It's just a totally different building paradigm, and all the tools were developed start for VR, right? So you've got your maker pen, and you can kind of extrude these shapes in the air and drop circuits and apply logic to it to create games. But it's just a totally different building process when you're on a touch device, and you're trying to navigate with your thumbs to drop a piece of geometry in place and bring music into a room. So a lot of our effort has just been trying to get creation somewhat synced up across all the devices, so that you can work on a room in your headset, and then switch to your phone when you're in a car, or somebody's driving and you're in the back seat trying to finish up your room. We want to get the tools somewhat universal, so that you know how they're used, but then optimize it for each platform, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
We have a couple questions for Guy, actually. Oh, now my cat's walking on my desk. So CB asked, they want to know what kind of future features Virtual Desktop has to offer users who don't have powerful PCs, just like regular laptop users.
Well, I'm working on having a built-in video player so that you can stream 360 or 180 videos from your computer. So you're going to be able to see the files that are on your PC. You're going to be able to see them in Virtual Desktop in VR. And play them, and maybe photos in the future. I'm still debating to which features I bring on from the PC version to the mobile version. But yeah, those are the type of things that will be possible even if you don't have a powerful VR ready PC.
And then Devin Bradley asks, this is for Sean, what percentage of Rec Room daily active users are mobile or non-VR?
Yeah, so I think we passed the mark where a majority of people are on a screens device. I think it was sometime last year. So a majority of people connecting, um, it's around, I think last time we announced it was around like 55 or 60% were on
Wow.
some sort of, just there's a lot of PlayStation people connecting in, no headset, just like on PlayStation. Um, so it's somewhere around that area. I haven't looked at that stat recently, but and it kind of goes up and down based on, when a new platform comes online. So like the Quest shipped, and then maybe VR was in the lead for a little bit because there are a lot more VR people on. So it can kind of move around, but I'd say in general, there's a lot of people connecting through a mobile device or just Steam without a headset or PlayStation 4 without a headset.
And then looks like ET2K9 now asks both of you guys, how long will it be before the XR API is useful to your applications?
Hard to say. I mean, for me, I've been developing in VR for 6 years, so I've already kind of wrapped the various SDKs and done the abstraction around them. So OpenXR is kind of a duplication of what I've already done. So I'm probably not going to start over and implement something with OpenXR at this point. I'm also not a fan of the API itself because it's based on it's from the Kronos group, which built OpenGL, and to me that's just a horrible API. So I'm not a fan of it. So I'm probably not going to use it.
What a recommendation.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about it. I don't know what capabilities it could bring to Rec Room, really. Some of the coolest like overlay apps I've seen some people use are mostly from our like YouTubers and streamer community. They'll use that one where you flip your wrist upside down and it shows you the like YouTube comments. Um, so I mean, if there are little things like that that players want, where they're like, "Hey, I want this overlay when I'm in Rec Room because it adds all this value to this content creation I'm doing, or productivity because it's desktop streaming or whatever." I think we're open to that, so I would have to look into it more.
Any more
Oh,
questions?
yes. So Scott One is here. I did not announce Scott One's arrival, but he is here. We have two Scotts.
Welcome,
And then
Scott.
CB also asks, they said that they want to play tabletop rooms games in Rec Room. Are the
Mhm.
built-in tools capable of making something like that
Oh
happen?
man, definitely. We have so many tabletop rooms. We have a bunch of people on the team that play D&D weekly with each other. So we actually added, because we were playing D&D games in there, we added like a D&D table. So I think it's called like a tabletop games table or something, but you can get it out of the maker pen. And then if you go into props, and then I don't know what category it's under, but yeah, we've got like multiple gamer tables. We've got multiple dice sets, multiple like little statues, and you can, build your own kind of character pretty quickly with the maker pen. So yeah, it's something that's been a major like use case, or people have requested it. So we've been putting more and more tabletop gaming stuff in over time.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Actually, another good question for both of you guys. Sorry, all the good questions are coming in now. My gaming is legal. Ask both of you. Has hand tracking brought any ideas you'd want to implement into your apps?
Is this like the Quest, like finger, like that sort of
Yeah.
tracking? I don't think we haven't even looked into using that yet. I'm trying to think if anyone has suggestions on like what they think it would be useful for in Rec Room. I mean, it could be useful for like, I would say like signing to other people, like ASL. That would be kind of
Yeah.
interesting use case. Like, if that's your primary way of communication and you've got a Quest, it would be really nice to be able to, sign to other people. So that's one interesting idea I can think of. But no, we haven't looked into it that much yet.
And do you have support for the Valve Index finger
Yeah.
tracking?
Oh, I'm not sure to what extent it does all the like capacitive stuff all the way down, like for the full fingers. But I know there's definitely some amount of support. I think you can use the like Steam VR, whatever their thing is, where you can set your own bindings. Anyway, but yeah, there's a way that you can set your own bindings for the index controllers, and I know a lot of people have been doing that.
And Yugi, are you playing with hand tracking yet?
Yeah, I've explored it a little bit. The thing is, a lot of people think, "Oh my god, you have hand tracking. You can just put the keyboard in front and type on it." Unfortunately, the hand tracking kind of glitches out as soon as you have a bit of occlusion with your hands, or if your fingers are not all visible. So it's not great for typing on a keyboard. Um, I'm exploring also probably the ability to have it work like it works for Oculus Home, right, where you pinch and you move a virtual cursor essentially. So I'm probably going to go that direction first, and then if it improves, then I'll be able to do actually typing and touching the virtual screen and all that. But yeah, it still needs a lot of work before it can be used. I'd say.
Really great questions from the community today. Are there any more?
So Warren suggested using finger tracking to possibly trigger emojis like like metal fingers and like okay and like
Oh
hand claps
man,
and stuff.
if you like make the heart, it just like blasts heart out of your avatar. That'd be cool.
That'd be
That'd be
beautiful.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then James
And it-
O'Loughlin said Oculus Quest needs to allow for more dev access to the pass-through for typing with a real keyboard.
Yeah, it would be nice
Yeah.
to have access to the external camera. We still don't have an API as developers
Jeez.
to display that. I've asked for this 2 years ago or whenever before the Quest came out, and we still don't have access to it. My
Mhm.
guess it might be a performance reason. Like while it's rendering pass through, it might be eating up a lot of resources so that you cannot have pass through plus a game being rendered on top. That would be my guess, but I don't know.
One may never know.
Well, there's also the security concerns that Facebook alleged. They've been sort of saying that they don't really want to let devs have access to those cameras.
Yeah,
just
but
because it's like a Pandora's box type thing.
But I don't want to have access to the actual data of the video stream. I just want to have it rendered on a Time Warp player that I can use in my app. That way I can't record it. I can't do anything with the video. It's just, you tell the SDK, hey, render the pass through for that area, and that's it. I don't have access to the data.
Maybe
so there's a
the
safe way to do it.
Varjo will be able to do it. Is that how
Yeah,
you say it?
that's the
Varjo.
mixture. Yeah, I think that's right. We always we struggle with pronunciations. It's something we're gonna keep getting better at.
I was gonna say, is that a headset that you've looked at all, Guy?
No, not really.
I mean, it is $10,000 for starters. So
Good lord.
Yeah, like it'd be like a questionable expense since I'm not gonna sell any app for it. So right, it's kind of a waste.
I didn't think anyone would 10x the index price, but there you have it.
Oh,
there you
yeah.
have it.
A custom driver to be able to say, oh, by the way, this centerpiece is rendered with this texture at high resolution with the rest, and none of the existing SDKs do that, Oculus or Steam VR. So you need to use their driver to support those features.
Interesting.
Well, any final comments?
James O'Loughlin said only render a small area for the keyboard with masking the pass through.
Yeah.
Kyle says Facebook give Guy what he needs.
All right. Well, thank you so much for our guests. I'm gonna go pet the cat though, because I feel bad that I locked him in the other room. And yeah, but thank you so much for our guests. We've had a really interesting discussion. Stay safe out there. We're all trying to stay safe, stay socially isolated, and
wash
make
your
sure
hands.
that we
I would say wash your hands.
20 seconds. Happy birthday, right? What's your favorite
Wash your
song?
hands.
We didn't cover that. What's your favorite song to sing while washing your hands?
I don't sing any
Happy
songs.
birthday.
No, I just wash my hands for 20 seconds. I don't know why people need a song. I just wash it for 20 seconds.
Yeah. I guess it depends on the mood. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are into wrestling, but Botchamania did their most recent episode. They had like the Botchamania theme going on, like over the guy like washing his hands for 20 seconds.
Nice.
It's great.
It's pretty good.
All right. We'll see you in the future next week.
Bye,
We'll be
people.
back. Thank you.
Bye-bye.